Hi, my name is Dan Levinson. I'm a 36-year-old white guy from New Jersey, which means you should probably not pay attention to anything I have to say. Um, and for what it's worth, I don't expect this video to get many, if any, views. I'm actually about to start a video series largely for myself because, like every other American millennial, I'm a narcissist. Sorry, I'm very sarcastic. I actually don't think that millennials are narcissists. I think boomers are narcissists. I think millennials need help, actually. And that's why I'm making this video, because I need help. And I think there are a lot of people my age who are really struggling in a lot of different ways. And I do think that given my life experience, I might actually have the ability to, if not help them directly, although I do hope to do that, and I'll explain that in a little bit, then maybe sharing my story and sharing my struggles, and most importantly, sharing my recovery can provide some sort of inspiration or motivation for other people my age, or really anyone, to just get back up on their feet and get back to their lives. Actually, getting back to one's life is kind of the reason why I'm doing this. I kind of had a pretty big realization last night when I was speaking to a really close friend of mine that over the last decade or so, and actually I can pinpoint when it started, it was Labor Day 2017. Again, I'll get to that point in a minute, but over the last decade or so, I really lost sight of who I am. I've stopped enjoying things. I've been extremely anxious and depressed and unmotivated. I've been engaging in behaviors that, even if I don't necessarily know who I am, I know the things that I'm doing aren't reflective of me, and I don't enjoy them. Specifically, I started smoking cigarettes a few years ago when I was 33 years old. It's a terrible habit. Thankfully, I think that's one of the things my generation and future generations seem to be avoiding, but it's something I'm trying to cut out and quit. About 10 years ago, on Labor Day 2017, I was actually hit by a car while training for the New York City Marathon. I was in a crosswalk. I had the right of way. I was in Brooklyn. I've been training for that race for 7 years, and just literally 2 months before the race was set to begin, I had registered. I'd done the New York Roadrunners 9+1, which is where you run 9 races and you volunteer at one. I'd been exercising every single day, eating healthy, hadn't had a sip of alcohol in 9 months, didn't smoke weed, didn't do anything, volunteered on the weekends, worked a 9 to 5, had health insurance. I was living in New York City. I was living the greatest life I could ask, and every day I would wake up and I would feel grateful. And then I was living in Brooklyn. I would go on the rooftop of my building, if it was warm enough. I mean, it's like 1 degree outside right now, but in the spring or in the fall or in the summer, I'd go out on the rooftop and I'd take a bagel from this place across the street called Bagel Stop, and I'd eat my bagel with cream cheese, and I'd have my iced coffee, and I'd read a book. And I like to read nonfiction and memoirs, and I'd read. I'd spend 10 or 15 minutes just immersed in a book, and then I'd look up, and I'd see this beautiful view of the Manhattan skyline, and I'd think, wow, I have such a great life. If only I had a girlfriend. That part never really worked out. And then I'd go running, and again, I would volunteer, or I'd go to work. I'd be productive. I'd contribute to society. I knew who I was, and I was proud of who I was. And I was trying to help the world, and I could help the world, and I did help the world, and I helped myself. I was capable of supporting and helping myself. This was during the first year of the Trump administration, of Trump's first term. And I don't want to go on to a political tangent, but I think all of us are unfortunately recognizing how the political is often personal. Back to the car crash, if you can even call it that. It was a beautiful day. The sky was cloudless. A sea of sky is a phrase I like to use. It was like an ocean of robin eggs blue sky. It was just so beautiful. I was crossing the street, had the light, all the cars were stopped. Some car, I think it was in a right only turn lane, whatever, was speeding and plowed into me, and I went flying across the street. Literally flying. I don't know how high up in the air, but it lasted about 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. I landed. I'm not sure if I landed inches or feet from the curb, but if my head had hit the curb, of course it would have exploded and I would have been dead. In fact, it's kind of a miracle that I'm not dead. I broke 13 bones. I shattered my left pinky, some ribs, some vertebrae. And unfortunately, if you watch this video series, you're gonna have to get used to me topless, which you should probably keep a puke bucket nearby. But the most significant injury was my shoulder. This is your humeral head. I believe your humerus goes from here to like here. It's the longest arm, because we have so many arms. It's the longest bone in your arm, and I believe it's the longest bone in your torso. I don't think it's the longest bone in your body. I believe that is your femur or something. I'm no doctor, clearly, and I'm no genius either. And I have man tits also. Now, I didn't then. But the humeral head, so where your shoulder meets your, oh, Jesus Christ, I'm so bad at this. But where your shoulder meets your torso, right, where the humerus ends, it's kind of like an ice cream cone. Or that's how it was described to me. And what makes your arm the most flexible joint in your body is that you have something called a humeral head. It's like a ball. So it's like an ice cream scoop on top of that ice cream cone. And my humeral head was knocked out of my shoulder and into my armpit when my surgeon at New York Presbyterian, Dr. William Levine, and his team, Dr. William Levine is like incredible. If you have any sort, I think he only does, I've learned so much about at least the arm and orthopedics. I think he only does shoulders and I think he only does shoulders. But he is the head of orthopedics in New York Presbyterian. He is a fantastic doctor. I would highly recommend him, especially if you need some sort of specialized surgery. Every single doctor, neurologist, pain specialists, any x-rays I've had done, any MRIs I've had done since, every single, anyone who has been able to see the interior of my arm and check the status of it has commented on what a great job Dr. Levine did. And I owe him a great Google review. I actually owe a few great Google reviews. But yeah, it was like shattered in like 6 different places. It looked like forked lightning. And they thought that the humeral head, the ball had exploded upon impact, but it was just knocked into my armpit. He found it during surgery, Dr. Levine. So that was the most traumatic thing in my life, and I have told that story so many times I've lost count. I'm sorry for any boring or unnecessary pauses, and I apologize for any tangents, or thank you for indulging me. I'm trying to say sorry less and thank you more. And I do promise this has a point. One of the points is that when you lose your body, when there's such severe physical trauma to your body that it never properly fully recovers. And I want to clarify, that's not a dig at Dr. Levine or his team. Again, I think they did an incredible job. I think the nature of an injury defines the limitations, unfortunately, of how you can recover, how much of a recovery you can make, how much of your body can heal. There was almost no chance that this would ever feel like a normal arm again. And I do think because of Dr. Levine and his team, I'm as close to normal as I could be, which is the highest compliment I can pay. It cracks a lot. But because this was so severe, the first surgery was to implant a metal plate, a steel plate, and 9 pins. Then they monitored the arm for a few years, tracking for something called vascular necrosis, or AVN, which is called bone death, which is known as bone death or known as AVN, whatever. When I was hit, a lot of the blood vessels did explode, or they were severed. There's a lot of internal bleeding, and because of that blood loss, the bone started to die. So the humeral head did eventually die, and I needed a shoulder replacement, which I got in 2023. When that happened, I think I really lost myself. There was just a lot of trauma that began with that crash and just continued to accumulate over the last decade. So on September 5th or 4th, I was hit, and then I had the surgery. And about 15 months after that, in January 2019, my mother was diagnosed with a grade 3 anaplastic astrocytoma. She was a nurse in New York Presbyterian for 35 years. That's where they did her biopsy. That's where she was treated before she passed. 15 months after that, around March, approximately 15 months after that, March 2020, we had the pandemic. I was in New York and New Jersey for the next 18 months. And in June 2021, which was about 15 months after the pandemic started, my mom died. And then I started to go back to work, and I got fired. It was hard for me to work because I don't really have great internal rotation, so it's hard for me to type. That's why I have 1,500 unread text messages and over 100,000 unread emails. It's hard for me to function. And that's kind of the point I'm getting at here as you stare at my man tits. I want to get back to my version of normal. And I want to get back to my version of me. And I want to keep achieving. And I want to do the right thing. And I want to contribute to this world. And I want to live the life that I want to live. You only live once. I had a lot of things going for me. And I refuse to let them die because someone couldn't drive a car properly. For me to recover, it is going to take a lot of resources. I want to also clarify, I'm not asking for money, and I hate money. I really believe money is the root of all evil. And I truly believe I do believe in capitalism. I truly believe in America. I do not believe in this president or his administration. I would like to run for Congress someday, but we're getting ahead of ourselves, or I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to take things one step at a time. And the first thing I have to do is recover physically. If I recover physically, I'll be able to focus better. I'll be able to feel better. And then I can write the 2 projects that I want to write. But again, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I want Norman Rockwell, American Dream. I want a hot wife who I love and worship. I'd like to have a child. I'd like to have a nice house. I'd like to watch HBO on Sundays while eating chicken parmesan. I'd like to volunteer or to work in some sort of government capacity, because I keep thinking of this line from the Bible, the meek shall inherit the earth. I'm a shy person. And one of the issues kind of that I've just been speaking about for 15 minutes is, it's not quite disassociation, but it feels like that. I almost feel like my life doesn't belong to me. And I did a lot of things that I thought would make me feel better, including buying a lot of shit. And it only made me feel worse. I'm not really interested in material possessions. I just want my own house and privacy and a community, which is the big point I'm getting to. People and experiences matter so much more than things. I really believe that. And I really believe in, for an atheist, I believe in a lot of things. I believe in universal health care. I believe in immigrant rights. I believe that we need more empathy. I believe that being a man is about taking responsibility and sacrificing for the greater good and protecting other people and acting with compassion and kindness and patience. But again, I have a tendency to ramble. I'm sure there are a lot of loose ends. I'm not a professional public speaker. And you have seen far too much of my dad bod. I guess you can have a dad bod, even if you're not a dad. With my ginger hair and my man boobs. But I'm gonna get rid of these man boobs. And I'm gonna exercise, and I'm gonna get back to running. And I'm gonna get back to writing, and I'm gonna get back to health. I'm going to do these things. The first thing that I had to do, and again, this is more for me than it is for anyone else, although I really do help. It helps other people. The first thing when you have a problem is that you have to acknowledge you have that problem. Even if you don't say it out loud, even if you just think it. You have to acknowledge it. And then you have to see the damage that it's doing. And you have to think, is this something that I can change? Okay, great. If I can change it, I should change it. How do I change it? What are the solutions here? And so this is going to be a video series of me enacting those changes, of identifying those problems, figuring out solutions, doing everything within my own power to address those problems and enact those solutions. And the reason why I'm making a video series is because I know that no man and no one individual can really heal on his own. I mean, you want to get in better shape, you want to lose 10, 15 pounds. Yeah, you can do that. You can go for a run, you can eat fruit, you can have a diet, skip the milkshakes, whatever. But it's a lot easier if you've got your mom or your dad, you know, making you a healthy dinner, or saying, hey, why don't we skip the pizza on Friday night? Why don't we just have chicken and broccoli? And not Chinese food chicken and broccoli, but like roasted chicken and broccoli. I guess what I'm asking for to anyone who is watching this is your support and your kindness. Give me a call. Send me... I can answer phone calls. It's one thing I can do. My internal rotation... Sorry, I had to make the joke. Some things with my internal rotation still work. Some. But it's not easy. But I'd like to respond to people better. I'd like to respond to texts and to emails. I mean, the other part of it is anxiety, and I ain't even started on that, and I'm spoken for like 20 friggin' minutes. Anyway, my birthday was Friday. My mom's birthday was yesterday. My birthday's February 6th. My mom's is February 7th. Today's February 8th, which means it's Super Bowl Sunday. And I can't even name who's playing other than the Patriots, who I hope lose, because, again, I am a New Jerseyan and a New Yorker to my core. And I hate Tom Brady, who I know isn't playing, but actually, I'm sure, you know what? I'm sure if I had a conversation with Tom Brady, I'd hate him less than I do. Because that's what we got to do. We got to communicate. We got to talk to each other. We got to help each other out. And, God, I have so many thoughts about so many things. And this is why I need to write a fucking book. But in the meantime, while I can't really do that, I can create a video. I can post it online. And I can show you my progress day by day. So, this is my introduction. Those are some of my goals. You'll get to know me if you want, because you can click on the video or you can decide not to. That's your choice, and I don't blame you for not doing it. But I do want to thank those of you in advance who are supporting me, who have supported me, who have shown me kindness, compassion, patience, who've been there for me, who've lended an ear, who've lended money sometimes when I needed it. Those people who are invested in me, who love me, who care about me, and there are so many of them, so many people in my community who I owe my recovery to them. I owe them a recovery that I haven't made yet. So, please stick with me on this journey. Please be my friend. Please give me whatever motivation and support, because I really need it. I really need you. I really need your love. I really need your kindness. And hopefully there'll be balance, and I will be able to reciprocate when I'm strong enough. And please help me become strong enough. Thank you. Hopefully this is the start of something really positive and beautiful. Enjoy the Super Bowl.